The inaugural address on this occasion will be delivered by Dr. Vinod Paul. Dr. Vinod Paul is Member Health and Nutrition, Niti Aayog. I do not want to list all his academic career and his current concerns as well as contributions, because I will then be impinging on the time that is available. You all know him. He is going to talk on Poshan Abhiyan, which will really ensure that the country not only achieves but surpasses the targets set for 2025. Is it possible? The answer is yes. If we all put our mind and heart to it, we can do it. And stop it.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Prema Ramachandran, Madam Saroj Churamani Gopal, esteemed leadership of nutrition in the country. I'm very humbled by the presence of very top scientists, activists, researchers, teachers in the field of nutrition in this audience. My special affection to Sharad, who's been a friend for long. Dear colleagues, I'm truly honored to be a speaker at the Centenary Symposium as a celebration of the life and contribution of revered Dr. Gopalan. I salute this great son of India, a scientist, an icon, a role model for this nation. Madam Prema Ramachandran asked me to speak on Poshan Abhiyan. We worked together in another presentation and she said, just stay around that presentation, it's appropriate. Some of the aspects of this presentation may look very mundane to this leadership, but that is, I'm just following Madam's instructions. So bear with me, for some parts that may look oversimplified. So let's begin. This has already been shown by Madam Churamani. These rates haunt us, this audience knows. We have made progress in terms of the undernourishment burden. Anemia burden has been static, has not been changing. Low birth weight is even more tough nut to crack. This is a reality. But on stunting, there is a secular decline of about 1% per annum, which we have been witnessing for quite some time now. And that is an important reflection of some good things that must have been happening in our country. This figure shows us how different states change the stunting rate over a decade. And it has a very two apparent messages. One, that the progress is uneven. There are some states who have progressed more. Of course, the baselines vary. That has been taken care of by this annual rate reduction, the red dots. Given that, some states have done better than others. And surprisingly, the second bit of message is a state like Chhattisgarh, which you would normally think as a difficult state, tribal population, nascent state in a way, has made one of the most remarkable progress, as you would notice. Himachal has done well. People can say there are good reasons, but Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, and then you are concerned why Karnataka would not really move and why Tamil Nadu would not meet final mile. shows us uneven change, and this must be kept in mind as we think through our emerging agenda. Now, this is the part which I am taking liberty to share with you, but fundamentals, because they underpin the Poshan Abhiyan, the National Nutrition Mission, about which I'll talk a little while later. Right. Now, this is a diagram which I have stolen from Madam Prema Ramchandran's drawings. Good way to teach the policy makers, cross-cutting stakeholders. Normal fellow has the same height, has the right height, and doesn't look undernourished, doesn't look thin. And we have a wasted fellow, nearly the same height, but looks weak, seemingly has lost weight recently. And then there is a third boy, in this case, who is doesn't look thin, but doesn't have the right height for the age. That's our stunted trend. Chronic undernutrition is manifesting as stunting. Acute undernutrition manifests as wasting. There can be combinations. This audience again knows that there is a huge GDP loss due to poor nutrition of our children and women. This loss is estimated anywhere between 2% to 11%. But even 2% is scary. There is an IQ loss, which is again variously estimated from 2 points to 9 points, to 10 points. Undernourishment underlies 35% of under 5 mortality, and if you look at the other side of inappropriate nutrition, then it underlies the epidemic of non-communicable diseases and, of course, morbidity. What is well known is the importance of the first 1,000 days of life, and I wish to underline this, that this underpins the scientific part of the National Nutrition Mission, once and for all. I love this diagram, and most of you must have seen this, but I want to go over this because this tells a story, and this also offers potential pathways of addressing undernourishment. Almost 16%, 17% babies born in the country are stunted at birth. I'm using the word stunted, they're short, their linear growth is inadequate. This rises a little bit. By 6 months, it is close to 20%. This is NFHS 4 data, not too long. This picture is still the same in principle, even in NFHS 3 analyses, and these are our own analyses. It rises a bit. Small babies, many of them die disproportionately, but some add on to more misery, more underweight issues. So you end up at at about 20% at 6 months of age. But something horrible happens 6 months onwards. Look at the steep rise in stunting prevalence at age 7, 6, going on to 2 years of age. It rises in a crazy manner. We in this room know it, that at least there are two issues. One, infections, diarrheal disease in particular, and second, there must be some issues about food, nutrition, and adequacy of nutrition. These two fundamentals play a role here, broadly speaking. Then it stabilizes. That means that those who are stunted, some of them might improve and get out, perhaps. Some who are normal may fall, but the proportion remains static after the age of 24 months. So these 2 years plus 9 months of pregnancy is almost exact 1,000 days. That is the focus of the discourse that you all have generated from time to time, and I'm adding my very strong voice to that, to say that this must be the underpinning of any nutrition addressing program. Just to also state an important fact that the length increase, the velocity of linear growth, of course, is highest in utero because it is one cell becoming a million cell, a zero size becoming about 50 centimeters. But then you can still see that postnatally also, if this is the first year, that this is a phase of rapid linear growth. This is velocity, fastest in utero, and then it is still fast in the first year of life. Brain. The adult weight of the brain is 1.2 kilos. At 2 years of age, it's about 1,000 gram or kilo, 980 or whatever, let's say. This is about 85% of the weight of the brain, sheer weight. And this growth is the business of first 2 years and the first 1,000 days. The point we have been making is that if you miss this window, you cannot put the brain, more brains later on. If this has been missed. Whatever you have, you have. In terms of the sheer weight, we are going to talk about connections in a moment. So that period of rapid brain growth and maturation leading to 80% of brain development is 2 years. So well known to this audience. Building brain in terms of connections, which is about abilities, that period starts in late pregnancy and the brain starts to wire like crazy. In the months after birth, 1,000 to 10,000 new connections are being made every second. Because each neuron connects with thousands of other neurons. And you can see how the connections start to build at 36 weeks, more dense at 3 months, 6 months more dense, and then about 2 years max, and then it starts to prune. At that point in time, then you are refining your ability and your potential for cognitive action and neurological actions by way of what we learn from the environment. But a lot of action happens every second in this critical phase. It must therefore require continuous supply of nutrients every second, every millisecond. And this is that crucial period that we're talking about, during which there is sensory maturation, language and cognition. Translated into how language develops, that period, the blue one, the peak language learning takes place around 9 months of age, declining, then by 1.5 years it is done. Higher cognitive function gains happening in the first year of life, peaking around 1 year of age, and then still carrying on fast, and by the end of early childhood it is all over. So you can see that is the phase during which the brain is developing and the functions and the abilities are developing, and if we interfere with this because of nutrition, it must harm it. It has to harm. If we lose 1 IQ point, let's say 2 IQ points, in an average child with stunting, what are we losing? We have 40% stunting rate. The 2.6 crore babies being born, that's about a cohort of a crore of children who have 2 IQ points less, in a way, getting accumulated every year. That amounts to 2 crore IQ points. So we are losing 2 crore IQ points as India compared to China. It must be showing in some way to our capability of competing in this competitive world. And we also know that the height at 2 years is half of the adult height. So if we are stunted at 2 years, if instead of being, let's say, 85 centimeters, if I am 79 centimeters, I am short by 12 centimeters as an adult, theoretically, and actually. So it's gone. If these two things happen, then our ability to do work in terms of muscle, in terms of performance, manufacturing, in terms of doing high intellectual work because of these challenges and these issues, must be getting hampered. We must be paying a price for this. And therefore, addressing this issue and to get the best potential of our genetic repertoire is fundamental to India attaining its full demographic dividend. So undernutrition occurs in this period, 1,000. It happens in this period. If it was happening at some other age, the brain would have been protected, the height would have been protected. Right? It happens. That's epidemiology. And this is when language develops, linear growth develops, Therefore, we must be ending up in a huge way as less strong, less smart children. We may not notice them because they all look normal to us. Just go out and see people working on the roadside, road construction or any other construction. Thin adults, thin girls, thin women, thin children. There are three mothers to this story, and now I'm speaking like a teacher, pediatrics teacher. The first mother is being small, the real mother. That means a baby who is small at birth, and we talked about it. 20% stunting and 30% wasting in childhood is attributable to small size at birth. You can refine these estimates. I am going by a discourse which is a broad teaching discourse or advocacy discourse. We can talk about it. But a quarter of undernourishment is about my people's growth. So therefore, to address this is nothing to do with food or food availability. It must be more than that. Of course, food to the mother is important, but it's also mother's ability, women's ability, adolescent, small mother, small girl child, small mother, and so much more must be underlying this. We don't even understand this fully. And one big grand challenge waiting to be challenged is the fetal growth, particularly the linear growth. We haven't really understood this. And what works for this is multi-sectoral. This audience, I'll just quickly list it. It's about the girl child care and adolescent child. Marriage and childbirth at the right age. We are happy to say that over a decade of 2005 to 2015, the childbirth at 20 years, the prevalence has declined almost by half, from about 19% to about 9%. Good news for us. Pre-pregnancy care, we haven't really created a good package right now. Birth spacing, hugely helpful in this regard. Antenatal care in its own way, detecting problems, addressing them, and skilled care at birth by way of survival. And immediate start of breastfeeding. Just listing the things that work. Does food work? Yes, food works, particularly in those women who are more severely undernourished and starved in a way, energy starved. But then I think this audience also appreciates the fact that you can feed the woman in that pregnancy and you can gain 70 grams, but not really 1.5 kilos. 70 grams, 100 grams is a typical weight gain that you can get. But of course food is important, but food is not everything in this way. A quarter of undernourishment has nothing again to do with food per se, but to problem of diarrheal disease, pneumonia, and other acute illnesses, particularly diarrhea. So I tell the broad stakeholders that you can eliminate undernourishment by 1/4 if you can address diarrheal disease in a big way by prevention, like maybe Bangladesh has done. And prevention, part of it is Swachh, sanitation, save water, Swachh Abhiyan, immunization that averts diarrhea, measles, TB, pneumonia, including rotavirus vaccine and pneumococcal vaccine, and detection, early care, ORS for survival, but zinc for reducing the duration of diarrhea, and one antidote or a preventive antidote or a prophylaxis for undernourishment, if there is any. To me it is zinc. Instead of diarrhea going for 13 days, you curb diarrhea and stop it at 3 days. And the nutrient losses are less. You are less vulnerable for the next diarrheal episode, and therefore less vulnerable for undernourishment triggered by these diarrheal episodes. So the solution, so we can have food surfeit India, and if the diarrheal disease are still a problem, they will contribute a very significant proportion to undernourishment anyway. Conversely, if we address this, we remove a huge chunk of undernourishment cycle. There is some early data of sort available from a survey done by, I think, UNICEF, which shows that in societies or areas where open defecation free status has been achieved versus not achieved, the prevalence of diarrhea is less. Okay, it's about I think a quarter less. As you can see, it is the next row also shows it is less, and also some clue that it might be helping basis. But it makes sense, and there are estimates that you can remove 15% of undernourishment broadly if we are perfect in our sanitation, water and sanitation status. That's broad learning from the reviews. What do we need for addressing illnesses? Complete immunization, early detection, of course supplements, deworming, early stimulation could be part of that package. Now this package doesn't look like a nutrition package, it looks like a health package. And indeed, health and nutrition are inseparable, and of course Swachh will help us. I'm just building the blocks of National Nutrition Mission in a way, if you would notice. Third is suboptimal feeding. Perhaps only half the problem, or close to half the problem. Again, it is not food availability, as was even stated by Dr. Gopalan. Yes, food sufficient. It's about the knowledge of what to feed and when to start and how much to give, and how to support a child with optimum feeding. Food insufficiency must be a problem in very very poor families, true. To some extent, this is to be matched by providing take-home rations and so on in these 1,000 days. What are the feeding norms? Are we achieving them at 100%? So, starting breastfeeding within 1 hour, exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, continuing for 2 years. We'll see the report card in a moment. Something which is not emphasized even in this, room is the focus on the small baby. We emphasize feeding, but we don't specifically underline even more emphatically the feeding of a small baby. The ones who fail, kids who fail on feeding, are more likely to be small babies. Small babies cannot latch onto the breast. They take longer to establish themselves. They are weak, they are untrained, if they are premature, they still have to learn how to latch, how to hold the breast, nipple. It's like giving, a mathematics paper to a class 5 child, the paper that belongs to class 10, because they are not ready at the moment. So they need help, you need tuition for them. Now these norms are available, these guidelines are available, but then have not been emphasized in general. And I want us to be very clear that this is a baby who is already a stunted baby and a wasted baby. Somehow this doesn't catch attention. They need kangaroo mother care, which promotes breastfeeding and prevents infection and creates other goodnesses. And small sick neonate must be a part of the package. Again, sick neonates are often the small babies. Breastfeeding going up to 2 years. Complementary feeding starting at 6 months. Culturally appropriate, hygienic in increasing amount, adequate in its components, and of course matched with monitoring and of course care of the undernourished. This is the broad list of intervention. We have matching programs, care at facilities, which leads us to ensure feeding within first hour. Then we have a wonderful program, home-based newborn care, which I want us to add voice to this, speak up for this. I'll come back to this in a moment. And we're thinking of another program to latch to creating opportunities to ensure that the feeding and health is counseled in the household. Then of course ICDS provides food and growth monitoring, but woefully low coverage in the first 1,000 days. As we know, much action happens in Anganwadi at 3 years. Again, adding voice to talk about and to ensure feeding of small babies, enabling mothers, enabling health workers to do so, expression of milk, giving feed with a spoon or salad or tube, of course, in the facility if required. Expression of milk, these skills are business to talk about them. We don't do enough of this. How to express breast milk. We don't teach this very well. And of course, kangaroo mother care. We don't, again, there are issues in the strategies and communication materials, how much to feed the child. Our food is voluminous. You need to eat this much to get this much of energy. A 1-year-old child, Dr. Dhai taught me very early, requires half of the requirements of an adult. So imagine, not for us, it's for outside audience, put in the plate full lunch and put half of this lunch in the other plate and think about that 15-month-old child to finish that. That's the requirement. We don't recognize this in our culture and kind of food we have. That seems huge. We have again no concept of babies who take time to feed because we are in a hurry, particularly the poor households, for of this big reason. More so, we don't have any idea about energy density concept in our culture. That adding oil is actually good because it gives, one spoon gives 45 calories rather than one sugar spoon which gives you 20 or 18 calories. We don't have these concepts. So babies don't eat enough. We also don't emphasize the very fact that pediatricians know that baby's stomach is small, so this fellow has to be fed 6 times. These are not percolated even in the middle class. This is a huge myth that has been going on because of all of us, including the public. So that's the energy density issue. In Poshan Abhiyan, launched on March 8, 2018, the following objectives have been enshrined. Accelerate decline in stunting rate by double of the secular rate of 1%, that means 2% per annum, and to bring it down to 25 by the year 2022, the 75th anniversary of India's independence. This is the first and the foremost goal. Underweight prevalence, again, doubles its decline. Low birth weight rate, 2% decline. More importantly, please, I want you to notice that the anemia is now truly on the horizon, under the spotlight. Anemia has been hidden. We have made very little progress on anemia. Someday we should have a much more comprehensive discourse on anemia. But anemia decline to the tune of 3% per annum is the goal, and of course in women again 2%. These are the goals. These are the same goals which we have stated repeatedly, but this is what we have right now. Total funding of about 9,000 crore, pan-India coverage in a phased manner, and one of the things that the Prime Minister emphasized that this Abhiyan, this mission should be a Jan Andolan. And I'll come back to that in a moment. What are the core foci of this mission? First, intense focus on the first 1,000 days of life. It's about prevention. There have been, from time to time, undue emphasis on chasing Sam and then getting the children. We need it perhaps. But then that became as if that is the nutrition mission. It's the end of the story. How can this be averted? And I'll show you the mix of intervention. If you put them all together, at 1 year, no child should be wasted. Stunting, because it starts in fetal life, is more difficult. But no child ought to be Sam at 1 year, if we cannot prevent, except those who have left a cleft palate, heart disease, something else. No other kid should have wasting. Wasting should be extinct. It's all about where you start. So that's the 1,000 days. Unprecedented use of IT to track babies, track women, record real-time data going up to the national capital, to district, can be read. Each child's weight being plotted and being seen wherever you want to see. Food sessions being captured, and so on. So perhaps this will be the biggest IT used in a public health program once it is saturated in the entire country. Imagine, 14 lakh Anganwadis using the CAS, the Common Application Software. So this is a strong way of monitoring and also using the smartphones for educating, using film. A plethora of films have been developed which can be used for standardized counseling. The third one is convergence, and the fourth is Jan Andolan. Convergence because different sectors need to work together. And all this comes together as action, which of course includes growth monitoring as well. So if you see 1,000-day strategies, then from the health sector, first and foremost is about the maternal care, antenatal care, we talked about it, deliveries, sick baby care, and often these sick babies are small babies, so you could see them through the nutrition lens. And then home-based newborn care, where babies are to be visited by an ASHA worker to help them feed, help them be warm, and to detect early problems and to counsel. Then you have integrated management of newborn and childhood illness, which is for early detection of illness, home care of non-serious illnesses and referral for sick children. Immunization program would help in improving nutritional status, and of course care of severe acute malnutrition will be required. Certainly that happens. Now, I come back to this picture and bring to your attention the period between 6 months to 24 months. Back to this. This is where we need to strengthen. If you look at what we have been doing, just pausing for a moment, early initiation of breastfeeding, you can see that we have made progress, right? This one. Okay. Exclusive breastfeeding, this is where we are. It's still far away from this aspirational goal. Timely introduction of complementary feeds, we are 50%. Only half the children in our country receive or start having complementary feeds between the age of 6 to 8 months, in spite of all of us. 50%. We don't start food. So what happens is this. Okay? And then coming to the next data, which is the last line there, but this is where I want to depict it. If you look at adequacy of food using the surveys that we all design consistently, and as I said at FHF4, you would notice that only 10% of India's children get adequate food, semi-solid food, from the age 6 months to 24 months when that steep rise is taken. This to me is the most important emergency that we should be talking about. Between 6 months to 24 months. That is the period of the brain growth, and that whole damn thing that you saw, the weight was rising. And what are we feeding to our kids? Only 10% kids are getting adequate food. In terms of the variety, in terms of whatever you can get out of a survey. This is we all design these surveys. We can now challenge it. Okay? And this is exactly, by the way, the same. If you look at 2006 data, it is again 9%. It has not changed. In some states, it has declined. In some states, of course. No state has crossed 20% at all. This also means that it is not just a cultural issue of the poor families. It is everybody. Entire middle class. And then we say, this happens. And ORS coverage, we are still stuck around 50%, 55%. Zinc coverage, we are stuck at 20%. Rotavirus is just about to start. Pneumococcal. That will be part of the mission, ocean mission also in a way, but this is something which we have not addressed in our previous efforts. And in order to strengthen this part, we had home-based newborn care to promote breastfeeding, ASHA workers visiting 6 times, age 3 to 42, and if it is home delivery, then additional visit on day 1, is a program which is weekly implemented. We don't know how much is the coverage, what is the quality, a missed opportunity. Because this program, based on India's own research, started with Dr. Abeba, but also ICMR's work, at least 7 studies in the region and in Africa, that it makes a difference. Our own study in 5 sites, ICMR study, shows a 33% decline in infant mortality rate. The effects are post-neonatal as well, and the neonatal mortality rate of over 25%. It has phenomenal survival gain. Unfortunately, we being the survival people did not measure the nutrition outcome or nutrition change, by which we had done. It must be critical, something which is critical, and I want us to all talk about this program and hold us accountable for pushing this program. This is where breastfeeding is established. This is where the breastfeeding gains happen. This is where the low birth weight baby is saved and then put on a reasonable trajectory of life of child. We haven't done that. I have been pleading that this program must be revitalized. I'm making my huge efforts, but I think we must talk more about it. It's recommended by WHO. Again, WHO also doesn't monitor. The UNICEF has signed on the document. I'm not showing it here as a global statement. Nobody monitors. There are more exciting programs which attract attention. Now, what we have done is a new program as a part of Poshan Abhiyan, and that is that not only the ASHA worker will visit up to 42 days, she will then visit 3 months and 3 monthly up to 15 months of age. And what is the purpose? To take care, making contacts with the health system or health worker contacts during that phase of 6 months to 24 months for nutrition, for immunization mobilization, for health messages and child development messages. So we think we have corrected a very important design fault in our approach to 1000-day care of babies for health and nutrition. So this is a program which you saw here, that this home-based care 6 weeks, and then it goes on. These contacts now happen 3 monthly, up to 15 months, and this is a new program called Home-Based Young Child Care. The guidelines for this were launched by the Prime Minister on 14th of April. Training has been initiated. Training of state-level trainers would be over by December. I want us to add our vigor to this. Can you take it to scale fast? Can we all join hands? Business as usual. We haven't even taken SBMC announced in 2011 to full scale. Can this be hastened? Can these together become a single big program, or something like Mission Indradhanush, a Mission Bunyad or something? I want academics to support this new idea, which is a policy now, which is a program, and which will move, but can it move fast? Of course, these are the interventions which coming from Swatch side, and these are the interventions which you're familiar with coming from. So this is the package for the 1000-day survive and thrive. Yes. And for that matter, strategy of Poshan Abhiyan. Let me move toward the end to the issue of Jan Andolan. When these deliberations were going on at the highest level, the Honorable Prime Minister made a very pertinent point. He said, all this nutrition being a social, family issue, cultural issue, this has to be a Jan Andolan. Of course, he has said making development a Jan Andolan in more than one occasion. You heard it. इसकी गूंज होनी चाहिए. गूंज क्यों नहीं है? उन्होंने ये वर्ड यूज किया. तो हमने अपने तरीके से कम्युनिटी पार्टिसिपेशन कुछ लिखा हुआ, वो लिखा हुआ. But then it was his, sort of direction and his cajoling that Jan Andolan became an important part of the mission. And we now call it Jan Andolan rather than saying community mobilization discourse. Right. In the month, as part of that, it is about engaging people, engaging across sectors, having a voice right at the grassroots level. And in the month of September, as a part of Jan Andolan strategy, India celebrated Poshan Ma, and here is something that I'm happy to report to you. So we had materials, we had a strategy, Har Ghar Poshan Tyohar. This is, and a lot of sectors joined, many more actually. These are not enough. There are state level players and so on. Created a plethora of new materials, very nice materials. They are available on the website, which focus on adequacy of food. बार बार खिलाओ, प्यार से खिलाओ, बहला के खिलाओ, छोटे बच्चे की केयर पे आए हैं. इस सब को थोड़ा रिफर्बिश किया जहाँ जहाँ gaps थे. That's put across. Created a strategy, created timelines, and here is what I'm happy to report. On the dashboard, we recorded that in that month, as many as 25 crore people, persons, were associated with the Poshan Ma. These many people were touched by the Poshan Ma. Now what does it mean? It may be that a baby's weight was taken. It may be that 50 people in a village got together for Bodh Bharai. It may be that 100 people got together for a Poshan Mela. It may be that a district officer arranged a mega show of 300 people talking about Poshan. And so on and so forth. But it's all recorded. You can go to the website and see it for yourself. It had more participation of adult women, which was expected in a way. Men can wake up and outperform if they can. In terms of children being involved, you can see roughly boys and girls same proportion. This is what, if you go to the website which are given here, it's coming from there. I plugged it in the morning and you put the date. This is 2nd October, so this is the Poshan Ma end. It shows you actually 27 crore people involvement. Because some people continue to fill the data after we officially said 25 crore. You can also see that talked about Poshan, talked about breastfeeding, talked about anemia. By the way, one gain of Poshan Ma was that anemia, detection of anemia, talking of anemia for a while became became a mainstream talk. Anemia became a focus for the first time as well as an offshoot. Of course, overall emphasis on other things. This is, as I said, you can check yourself. Thousands of pictures on Poshan Maah here and there, all parts of the country. There were something like 22 lakh activities. I don't know where that is written, but it will come. 22 lakh activities happened on record. Of them, 1/3 were interdisciplinary. There were at least 2 sectors were involved. So it was health and nutrition, rural development or nutrition, okay, urban and let's say Panchayati Raj or something. So this is the convergence was visible in this mass action. And of course, Ministry of Women and Child Development had much more to show. So 22 lakh activities. This is, by the way, the snapshot this morning. There is a wave effect that today, in the same way, 38, this is 25 crores, so 38 crores people have been touched by this ongoing Jan Andolan. Beyond that Maah, started with the Maah, it is all there. You can also see the participation of various ministries. This is obviously Ministry of Health, Ministry of PWCD, this is Health, and then there are other ministries, they can do more for sure. And then there are areas where it was much more intense than other areas. As a part of this Abhiyan, Poshan Maah Abhiyan, on the 11th of September, something unique happened. The Honorable Prime Minister had an e-Samvad with hundreds of locations in the country, where he talked to the ANMs, ASHA workers, as well as ANMs and so on. And that, of course, galvanized a lot of more activity. But the political commitment is of the highest level. He devoted 1.5 to 2 hours almost, talking to the grassroots worker, and talking about poshan, talking about women's health, nutrition, food, breastfeeding. Unique things happened on that day. And then toward the end, let me just say what the Prime Minister said on 15th of August from the Red Fort on Independence Day. मैं बेचैन हूँ, हमारे देश के बच्चों के विकास में कुपोषण एक बहुत बड़ी रुकावट बना हुआ है, एक बहुत बड़ा बॉटलनेक बना हुआ है. मुझे मेरे देश को कुपोषण से मुक्त करना है, इसलिए मैं बेचैन हूँ. In summary, the Poshan Abhiyan that you are witnessing has the highest political commitment ever. It encompasses, if you look at the evidence, the metrics of the interventions, you all have shown us that's the evidence-based intervention mix that we need. It's all there. So all the interventions that can make a difference are there. Nothing is missing, right? एक गैप जो था उसको भी एक प्रोग्राम के पैकेज को कवर करने की कोशिश की गई है. It has made nutrition endeavor beyond food as a reality and 1,000-day as a process. And it has succeeded to a significant extent in getting the convergence right. There's so much more to be done. But certainly at this point in time, it has succeeded in unleashing a Jan Andolan to a very large extent, and Jan Bhagidari to a very, very important extent. Therefore, this is an unusual time. This is something that we all were waiting for a long period of time. It hasn't. We were wondering someday there will be a mission. We have something on the table. It is supported by political leadership. It is supported by resources. It has the intervention that we need. Can we now make the difference that it requires, which needs all of us? Thank you very much.
I'm sure you all enjoyed his presentation, and it is so heartening, Dr. Paul, to see that scientific basis, advocacy of that scientific basis to all the stakeholders so that they accept it, and that is the way you build a real people's movement. You call it by whatever name, and that is the way in which India can really use its human resources for nutrition and national development. We are extremely happy that you were able to come and make this excellent presentation, which will enable all of us to move and become a part of that Andolan and achieve the SDG goals ahead of time. May now request Dr. Kamla. I know you have walked up and down enough, but please come and give. No. Exercise is something that she does very religiously, and therefore we are only ensuring that she gets her quota of exercise to come over here. Dr. Kamla is the Vice President of NFI. He has been the past President of NSI and the former Director of NIN. And therefore, what I have been talking right through, that these three institutions which were nurtured by Dr. Gopalan continue to be the foundation on which hopefully the future of nutrition science in India will be built by all of you. Come, Dr. Kamla. You are going to give the baskets of fruit for dietary diversity. And I'm sure, Dr. Paul, you will share it with your son. Yes. It has all the micronutrients. I am now requesting Dr. Vinod Paul to honor Dr. With the same fruit. Thank you very much. We now break for tea. We will break only for about 20 minutes because we are slightly behind time schedule. We will try doing the audio system improvement over this time. We also request all of you to please hand over the pre-test. You know, this is a very difficult area. It hasn't really received the kind of academic and other attention. So don't worry if lots of this is really difficult and you do not have the answer. We need the pre-post assessment to know where are the areas which we need strengthening presentation. So please help us by giving the pre and the post assessment so that in the next symposium we will be able to really fill the gap. Gap filling has been identified as the methodology by which we progress fast, and we would follow it. Please, therefore, now join us for a cup of tea and then come back as quickly as we can. Okay? Thank you very much.